What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another Transformation Tuesday story. I've got Benjamin on the line. What's up, Benjamin?
Hey, good morning. Good to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you, brother. And we're going to be talking about your journey to being on the podium at a competitive Spartan race, and not just any Spartan race. So we'll talk about that. I'll let you tell the story. But before we get to the moment, let's talk about the journey that got us there. So this is kind of a transformation for you, right? There was a point, as you described it, there was a point where you were like in the worst shape of your life and feeling terrible and probably looking terrible. You don't look bad now, but looking terrible. And I want to hear about that. How long ago was that, and what was going on, man?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I'm 41, almost 42 now. And yeah, I was in really good shape in my 20s, and then got married at the time. I was building a career at the time, building a family at the time, and just had a very difficult time managing the stresses and responsibilities that come with being a new husband, being a new dad. And man, I don't know about other guys, but for me, if I am under stress, I lose my appetite. I have a hyper fast metabolism, and I lose weight. A lot of guys will put on pounds. It's not really talked about very much, that men can be underweight when they're out of shape. Just eating too much sugar, which kills the appetite. Anyways, so in my 30s, I couldn't find the motivation to stay in shape, right? Like I'd go to the gym for a couple weeks or a couple days. And at the time, I didn't know I had an autoimmune disease, celiac disease, just because I didn't have symptoms. So I would go for a few weeks, and then it wouldn't stick, right? I wasn't a young single guy that lived by the beach anymore, and just looking good, right, wasn't the motivation. So at certain points in my 30s, just got down to the 140s, and even one time dipped down to the 130s, and I'm 6'2". And so, it's 6'2" in the 140s is extremely, extremely thin, literally looking like I was starving, right? Even
like
though
rail thin. Yeah.
Yeah. Just ultra thin, my neck size was down to like a 14,
Wow.
and just really, really thin. And it's funny because with my shirt off, I had the six pack and the abs, but they were the weakest abs known to man, right? Like I could do a plank for like 10 seconds and I thought my spine was going to break. So my 30s is completely out of shape, a bad situation.
So you're in there. Would you say that the primary factors that were keeping you out of shape, so to speak, were things like not adjusting well to fatherhood, trying to juggle career, maybe relationship at home? What were the forces that you were having a hard time overcoming in the 30s?
I would say, and that's a great question, I would say that just vision, right? I look like I was, I didn't have, a pot belly or anything like that, a beer gut, and so I felt like I looked okay. I think that, all those things, it was the stresses. So the career path I was on was 100% commission technology sales, which was high stress. And my son was born with a lot of health ailments. He almost died in my arms at 2 weeks old, had emergency surgery that night. Yeah, it was traumatic. It was my wife and I's wedding anniversary that day that he almost passed away in our arms, and was in Children's Hospital on and off for a year. And we had filed bankruptcy before that with a lot of financial problems.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the lowest of the low. And so it was trying to rebuild. And I think the biggest thing looking back was that there just wasn't a vision, right? Like there's an important thing in life. What is your why? And if you don't have a strong enough why, what's the point, right? Like you're going to fail. You're going to rely on plan Bs, and you're not going to be able to put forth the dedication, the effort, the intestinal fortitude to do big things if you don't know what the goal is, right? And so I didn't have a goal. My goal is to make money and to provide for my family, and I didn't think that being in shape was part of that, right? And then maybe some contributing factors was a friend of mine. We were the same age, in his early 30s. He had a stroke, and he was in tremendous shape. And it's like, okay, well, he's in shape, I'm not, right? Like, I want to be here. Yeah. So I only have one child, and it's like, you know what? There's certain things started to click for me that, okay, if I'm an engine, right, and my heart is like the oil pump, right, the engine's not going to run without the oil pump working, right? So if I have like a stress related heart attack or something like that, I'm gone, you know. And so I need to start taking steps. And it's interesting, without obstacle course racing and Spartan and all that kind of stuff, I knew that in my mind, right, but I did not. And then I felt this black cloud, because like, okay, I need to be active, I need to be fit, I need to be healthy for my son, so I can be that dad that's around his whole life, healthy and able to do things like going on hikes and playing ball with him and wrestling with him and teach him how to be a man as far as athletics and just being outdoors. But I can't do that if I'm anemic, if I'm out of shape, if I'm not even around, right? And so I felt bad, just like, you know, going for a few weeks and then falling out of the routine, and just diets coming and going and trying to gain weight and just being such a hard gainer that it was actually a compounding effect. And so, yeah, and these are things that all guys face, right? Whether you get married and the marriage is more difficult than you anticipated, right? And that was my case. You know, did everything right as far as, you know, society, and, you know, I'm a church guy, whatever that the church says, hey, do all these things and everything will go well. And it didn't go that way necessarily, right? Life is hard. But yeah, so fast forwarding, you know, it's interesting that pivotal things in our life will kind of cause things to come into focus. And my marriage ended about 1.5 years ago. And that was a big shock to me, something I wasn't prepared for, something I didn't want. And just really, you know, jettisoned into a season of life down a path that I never thought I'd be on, of really, what is my identity, right? With custody issues, it was like, okay, well, I'm no longer a husband. I'm not really a dad more than a few days a month. The company I was working for laid me off and downsized some branches. And it's like, okay, who am I, right? Like, I'm not the career I had. I'm not the husband I was. I'm not the father, you know, 365, 24/7 that I was. Who in the world am I?
Ooh.
And
like, you burn everything down to all you have is the ashes, and then you go, what's left?
Yeah. And it was a very painful season. A mentor of mine, I took a year off my career almost 10 years ago, went through a ministry school at my church just to kind of learn, hey, who am I, and build my faith. And the director, he had something poignant that has always stuck with me. And that was this: you don't wait until you're thirsty to dig a well. And it was like, wow, that's profound, you know? And so for me, it was investing in my faith. It was investing in other relationships with buddies and dads and guys over the years, right? And man, that support network, you know, just to the listeners out there, if you're a guy that is a typical guy, you know, that doesn't really reach out to your buddies, that doesn't reach out to try to get together for coffee or grab a beer or whatever the case is, or go to the gym, man, you need to do that. Because in this season of my life, with just all the chaos and the stress and the trauma, if I did not have that, man, Alex, it's hard to even go to that realm of where I'd be and the decisions I would be making and not making, as far as that goes. But
so if I had to sum up, and this is a lot of life I'm summing up here, but there was a decade in your life where you didn't have the vision that you do now with regard to what kind of man you wanted to be physically, and how that shaped the rest of your life, basically. And then going through this divorce in the past 1.5 years, as well as the job change and you know, kind of the identity shift, you started to build a different vision. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And yeah, I just I put a Facebook Live up the other day, just, you know, like, rebuilding sucks. I mean, there's no easy way around it, right? When you've built something, you know, piece by piece, blood, sweat, tears, when you've built something and it's gone, right? Or it's 90% gone, or it's 50% gone, whatever the case is, and you have to rebuild that, it's like, it just sucks. It's like, I already had this, right? Like, I already built it, right? And I've always hated the term, you know, embrace the suck. And it's kind of cliche and it's trendy, right? And everyone says it, but I have learned to embrace part of it. Okay. But it doesn't mean it's easy. And so, yeah, so having to rebuild, it's like, okay, well, who am I? Right. And it's interesting, in my 30s, I was so out of shape that I saw these mud runs. I heard about friends at their offices doing mud runs, like the wussiest of the wussy ones, right? Not the tough mudders and not the Spartans. Just like you go get dirty with your friends and the people in the office that are, you know, 50, 80, 100 pounds overweight, and they're wearing tutus, right? And they're wearing costumes. That I had my sides pretty low. And so the journey kind of started with some guys at my church group. They were older than me. I thought they were not in the best shape. And they're like, hey, we just did this 5-mile tough mudder. And I was like, that sounds pretty crazy. Like, you have to sign like a death waiver because you can get electrocuted, right? And like there's like barbed wire involved, and like, you know, there's like paramedics on some of these obstacles in case you like have a major problem. But I'm like, well, you know what? I don't know anyone doing a little wussy 3-mile 5K. So let's just do this 5-mile. So I said, you know what? I am just going to set a goal for myself. I'm going to try to jog, like baby walk, for like 1 mile and not stop. I don't care if my heart's beating out of my chest. I'm just going to go for a mile. And I don't care if I take 10 steps to go 5 feet. I'm just not going to walk. And I'm just going to like jog in place if I have to. And so it started out really low. And just, I was at the point and I had realized my celiac disease in my late 30s. And so really what that meant for me was, and a lot of guys may not know they have this like myself, to where, you know, it can affect testosterone, because you're eating gluten all day, right? Breads and flour tortillas and just all these things. And for me, it manifested in, I would go to the gym. I wouldn't even work out very hard. I work out like 50%, you know, of maximum or something. And I would just get colds and flus within a couple days every time. And so anyways, fast forwarding to removing gluten from my life, it was great. Stopped getting colds and flus a lot. And so, yeah, so I started just going to the gym, and I set the bar really low. I said, okay, I'm going to go to the gym today, and I'm going to just warm up for like 30 or 40 minutes. I'm not even going to do anything besides just get the blood moving. Yeah. And so I started out really low. And then fast forwarding a few months, the guys came back to me from church and they said, hey, you owe more money. And I said, well, we already paid you for the race. And they said, oh, we forgot to tell you. It was so much fun last year with the 5-mile that we signed us all up for the 10-mile Tough Mudder. Oh. And I had a heart attack. I'm like, I'm up to like 2 miles without stopping, and it takes me like 20 to 25 minutes, right? Like, and now you're talking about 10 miles and obstacles, and like, so you asked a question earlier. So a defining moment in my journey was how bad my health was. And so for me, in 2017, the summer, I was coaching my son's baseball team, and I knew I was going to have to do some monkey bar type stuff. And there was a kid's playground there, and literally, it is not adult size. Okay, like I'm 6'2", like my knees are almost dragging on the sand, trying to hang there. Yeah, and I'll never forget, because I was holding on, and that was okay. You know, my fingers did feel like they were going to rip off my body at that point. You know, and I'd gained like, I don't know, 5 pounds or something. I was up to like 150 something, and I tried to transition just one monkey bar. Okay. And as a kid, it's effortless, right? But as an adult, yeah, right. So I tried to transition one monkey bar, and it was like maybe 8 inches or 10 inches from the first one. I thought I dislocated both my shoulders, like, you know, and 150 some pounds is not a big guy. Right. And so imagine a regular size guy, it's 180, 200 something. And I was like, I cannot believe that I can't even transition one child-sized monkey bar less than a foot apart, right? Like in these races, you know, they're like a couple feet apart. Anyway. Was that before or after you knew you were going to be doing a 10-mile Tough Mudder? This was after. This was like you're like, oh my God. Before. Yeah, and so I thought, okay, worst case, I'll just walk this 10 miles with my buddy, but I'm going to get destroyed in the upper body stuff. And so I knew that, so that kind of began my journey. And with the divorce, so many things were outside of my control. And the one thing that was within my control was, okay, my health and fitness. And so I can control how much I go to the gym. I can control how much my protein intake is. I can control just certain things, right? And so
I can get better at monkey bars.
I can get better at monkey bars, right? It's I can. So the gym became that for me. It was okay. I think for me it was good to have smaller, bite-sized goals. A lot of guys say, hey, I'm going to put on 10 pounds, or I'm going to lose, 10, 20 pounds, whatever the case is. And for me personally, I mean, people are different, but for me personally, it's okay. I need little wins to get that wind in my sails. Yeah. And so for me, it was okay. I'm going to go to the gym 3 days this week, right? I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to hit every muscle group 2 times, even if it's like sets of 20 and like baby weight. Right? I'm just going to get in there and not going to get hurt, and then the transition from there. So and you said something so important I want to highlight, and recognize that as a win, not like, I want to lose 20 pounds, so I should probably get to the gym 3 days a week. All right, I got there. Let's get on the scale. Oh, crap, I didn't get anywhere. Like, it's like, no. 20 pounds, fine. You want to lose 20 pounds? It's great, whatever. But this week, if I get to the gym 3 times, boom, like I win. Like no matter what happens. Yeah. So I set the goal really small. And for me, that was really important, right? Because I wanted to get back to my weight. I had been up to the 160s, 170s, 180s in my younger days. And I wanted to get back there, but it was such a stretch, right? It's like, okay, I could get sick, or something could happen with divorce, stress, and have to, I get something back to court or something like that. And there's things I can't control. So, yeah. No, I love that highlight. So I'm riveted on this story. Okay, you've got a 10-mile Tough Mudder coming up against your will almost, but you paid for it. Fine, whatever. Yeah, the church are going to do it. So what happened, man? I mean, you're like going from monkey bar to monkey bar with your shoulders almost dislocating. How'd you do? How was the experience? What happened? So. Parts of it were amazing, and parts of it were god awful. So I want to hear at least one of both. Yeah. So a word to the wise is, you want to train like you're going to participate in whatever hobby you're going to do, right? So for me, it was kind of a cascading event of just bad luck and being a procrastinator. So guys, don't be procrastinators. Okay. I bought a bunch of running shoes, these fancy Innovate running shoes online, and they were they all didn't fit right. And then I dilly-dallied for a few days or a week or two. And then before I knew it, the race is in a couple of days. And so I just ran to Big Five, bought like an inexpensive pair, didn't break them in. And I was doing all this research just last minute, kind of freaking out. And everyone's talking about, compression pants and compression socks and all this different stuff. And I just went overboard, man. I bought all this gear. I'd never ran in it. You got decked out, man. Yeah, I looked like $1 million, man. I figured, hey, I can fake part of this till I make it, right? So if I suck, at least I'm going to not look like a joke out there. That's great. Well, fast forward, I've never had knee problems in my whole life, and or since then. And I was terrified I was going to do bad on the upper body stuff. But thankfully, hitting the gym for, at this point, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, I had enough grip strength to get by. Cool. But my knees completely 100% gave out at the halfway point, like 5 miles. Okay. So here I am. I look like I'm getting somewhat fit at this point, and I have all the gear on, and I'm literally getting passed by like 80 and 100-pound overweight women with untied Converse in the mud, wearing their tutus and their butterfly wing costume. And I'm borderline having to be carried by my buddy because my knees have seized up. And in hindsight, wow. I bought too small of a compression sock. I didn't know there's athletic compression socks and compression socks that people would like, they're diabetic. And so I have these compression pants and there's the compression socks. I just forced too much blood to my knees. You restricted the blood flow. I made a lot of rookie mistakes. It was a wonderful experience overall. And then I realized, okay, the Tough Mudder at the time, the upper body obstacles were not as challenging as I thought. Okay. And so I heard about Spartan, and Spartan was hardcore. Spartan at the time was a whole different level. They're kind of on the same playing field now, more so Spartan and Tough Mudder. But anyway, so transition to the Spartan, I heard they had penalties if you fail obstacles. And so they, depending on the distance race, whether you do a sprint, a super, or a beast, which is like 4 miles, 8 or 9 miles, or 14 to 15 miles, depending on the venue, you have to do 30 burpees as a penalty for every missed obstacle. And there's 20 to 35 obstacles per race.
That's a lot.
And I'm like, oh my God, like I hate burpees.
I will not do 900 burpees.
Yes. I'm like, I would rather just, die right there. Like,
Right.
it's like, yeah, I'll take the hat of shame for the rest of my life to have not to do 1,000 burpees. So it's silly, right? But everyone has their goal. And for me, it was, I don't want to do any burpees. I don't want to suck. That was my motivation, was I want to be like, I can do this. And yeah.
I love that. Don't suck. Don't do burpees.
Yes, I literally and that has changed my life. Honestly, it has changed my life. And some people say, was it something profound? And it's yes and no, right? It was a divorce. It was the pain, the loss of family, of relationships, of and even just like the roles, right? Like not living in my same neighborhood, losing my neighbors, right? Like I'm not a homeowner, I'm not a neighbor, I'm not a dad, I'm not a husband. Like, and I had to switch jobs to a new field for a while, and it's like, man, like what can I control? And it's like, a really good piece of advice I had at that super traumatic time was this: do the next thing. And honestly, there were times where I didn't know I'd make it through the next 60 seconds, the next 30 seconds. My heart was overwhelmed with loss and anxiety and just stress. And literally it was like, okay, I need to finish an email. I need to go outside and weep in the parking lot because I'm broken right now. I need to, I need to go refill my water glass. Like that was the next goal at certain times. And so there were those super hard times, and there were the certain things. Looking back now, I did my first Spartan race in May of this year, and then after the Tough Mudder, that was Seattle of 2017 in September. So between that 9 months or so, there was something as simple as, I don't want to suck. I want to be a man, right? Like I don't want my son to grow up and see this anemic, out of shape dad that can't even hang on a monkey bar for a few seconds, right? I want to show him that he can be strong. He can be courageous. He's sitting here watching me right now next to me. But, and so, it was something as simple as don't suck. And I did not want to have to do any burpees. and that changed my life. And so fast forwarding, being, I've got 7 Spartan races under my belt in less than 6 months. Wow. And a couple other franchises. And I'm in the best shape at 41 than I've ever been in. And for the guys that have never tried Spartan racing, it's crazy. The 40 to 49 age group is the most competitive age group, between like the 17 to 24, the late 20s, the 30s, the 40s and 50s age groups. The 40 to 49 is the most competitive, which is mind blowing to me. So I'm in the most competitive age group besides the professional elites. And it's just been amazing to see that when you commit to something and you have what I call the victor's mindset, that you can literally accomplish things that you'd hear about on motivational videos, and you hear about, it's like every single man is capable. We're hardwired for big things, for great things. I love talking about the victor's mindset, which we kind of touched on earlier. Yeah,
we're actually going to dive into some, at least what I consider life lessons from obstacle course racing, and that's one of them. I can't wait. But one of the things I wanted to hear from you is about your most recent race. So you podiumed, what, second place? You got second place?
Yeah, I got third place.
Third place.
Yeah, in San Francisco, just a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And it was a phenomenal experience. So there's 3 classes of Spartan racing. There's the professional elites, there is the competitive age group, and there's just the open class general public stuff. And so just a quick backstory. So my first race in Montana back in May, I just did the open racing class. I got the cheapest deal I could find on like Groupon or like the Black Friday deal or whatever. And it's crazy because I was sick for like 9 days, 10 days leading up to this race, just like bronchitis and body ache and just a mess. And so I took some like over the counter decongestants and just like, Dayquil and just drugged myself up and just went for it. Right. And thankfully a buddy of mine, who was a pretty seasoned racer, he had just raced the beast the day before, like 13, 14 miles. Wow. And thousands of feet of elevation. And he's like, you know what? I'll just run it with you. Like, no big deal. I'll run
the race with you.
I'll just run this 4.5 mile crazy obstacle race with you. So anyways, so I did that, and I ended up getting top 10 out of a couple hundred people in my, they'll grade the age group in the open class, but there's no medals or podium. So I was like 7th or something. And I felt like, man, I wasn't even on my game. Like I was not feeling good. And I had been weight training, not really like doing the high intensity interval training, which is kind of what Spartan and obstacle course racing is more about.
Yeah.
So from there, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try the age group thing and just, try my luck. So I did that. And so I got smoked the first couple of times after I switched to the age group. I went from like top 10 to like 20 or 30 place, whatever. And then my training just kind of took a whole new level. It was like, okay, people say, oh, do you love running? You're a fast runner. It's like, I hate running. Okay. Like, there's some people that love it. To me, it's a means to an end, right? It's going to keep my heart ticking. It's going to keep my body healthy and keep my mind, free from stress. And it's just, there's an amazing thing that happens when you get out there and you get the blood moving, right? You reset the stress hormones, right? You flush those bad toxins out of your brain, out of your bloodstream. And for me, when I'm under stress, my blood just turns the consistency of molasses. It just turns to sludge. And I don't know if you or other guys are like that. But
feels like it inside, that's for sure.
It just is, things aren't moving. And so to get out there and run or go for a jog, it's just really, it's like getting a brand new oil change with, with whatever they call the fancy oil, whatever
the synthetic, right?
Yes, the synthetic. Yeah, this is not the $8 Walmart cheapy, blend. This is like
we just talked about it actually with regard to exercise in the brain. It literally flushes out the anxiety neurotransmitters and
exactly
makes it work out much better, like biologically for your brain. So I want to like hone in on these obstacle course lessons though, because
sure.
you not only have you come a long way in your own personal journey, but I got to say, I have a background in psychology. It's funny, ironic, not funny, haha, funny, ironic that you would pick this modality of exercise almost on accident, given what you're going through, right? So one of the things that you just said that I think is crazy cool is just do the next thing. You said that piece of advice really helped you. How many times as a obstacle course racer is that like, that's what's on your mind? Like just do that thing, don't even worry about the next 10 miles. Just do that next thing, right? How often do you think about that in a race? Just do that next thing, and then we'll worry about the next thing after that later.
Yeah, so that's a good segue. So in the beginning, I was trying to pace myself. Okay, like don't have to like walk and get passed by everybody. And that was something that a lot of guys do. They hit the starting line, they go 100%, and then they all get passed. Like literally all of them get passed because they don't pace themselves. And I didn't have the vision in the beginning to focus. It was just like, okay, just try to get to the finish line, It was too much of a 30,000 foot view. And I did okay, but it wasn't until I really saw, when I started getting closer to the top 10, and on that note, just to plug the old guys, the 40 to 49, like there were a couple races early in the season that if I was in the younger age group, I would have been on the podium, but I was like in the teens, okay, like into the deep teens, but I would have been like second and third if I was the younger age group.
Man,
the 40 plus guys, they got the juice, man. They turn it up.
They got the
midlife
juice.
Crisis. I don't know. But anyway, so back to what you were talking about. It wasn't until I started breaking everything down, right? And whether this applies to your career goals, whether it applies to your investment goals for retirement, whether it applies to your health goals, or whatever the case is with your athletic goals, if you can reverse engineer, right? If you have a big enough why, for me, my why was, okay, I want to see what I can do. I want to get on the podium. I had seen some friends get on the podium, and that was a goal that I had for next year, 2019. And so what that meant is I had to break everything down, reverse engineer, right? And just break down the mechanics and whatnot. So for me, focusing on the next thing in a race means, okay, I just hit an obstacle. I need to, sprint as hard as I can for the first minute or two and try to build a lead on these guys. Or it's in the middle of that, like, for example, in a sandbag carry, it's like, okay, I need to focus on my breathing. I need to focus on just keeping my head upright to keep the airway open. It's literally just thinking about the smallest thing possible, and just breaking it down like that.
I love that. So do the next thing is great advice when you can't look any more than 6 feet in front of your face, right? But when you can, when you have the experience, when you understand the vision a little bit better, you can step back and you can do a lot more than just the next thing. You can plan for the next 12 things, right? It sounds to me like that was a key for you anyway, to get on the podium.
Yeah, it was okay. It was just, breaking everything down into what can I do? What can I control? Right. And there's certain things that will come easy to guys, and there's certain things that will be difficult, right? Whether it's your golf swing, whether it's your prospecting ability in your job, or whatever the deal is, right? It's your,
So tell me about this victor's mindset. So one of the things that I think is really interesting about obstacle course racing, if you don't know, on my show, I talk a lot about my goal to get on the American Ninja Warrior show. It's not
awesome.
It's not quite obstacle course racing. It's more like sprint obstacles. It's a different level.
So what is it? Is the UNAA? Is that the Ultimate Ninja Athlete Association? So they were doing something in town just about a week ago, and I went to a gym that kind of specialized in that, and oh man, I got smoked. Okay, like I'm feeling pretty good from the season just barely ending. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in right now. I'm feeling pretty pumped from my podium win just a couple of weeks ago, and my eyes were open to the American Ninja Warrior stuff. So kudos to you, because it's a whole new level, and my hands are still sore like a week later from just obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. I didn't even know what, swinging, like what they call a lache or something like that.
Yeah.
I did that for the first time and didn't die, so I'm proud of myself for that. But it was only a few feet. It wasn't like 8 feet or anything, and the obstacles weren't moving. But so that's a really good goal. So for what I call the victor's mindset it's the opposite of a victim mentality, right? Because there's things that we can't control, right? Like we can't control getting laid off, right? We can't control getting diagnosed with cancer. We can't control if our spouse abandons the marriage, right? We can't control if a parent dies or something, right? We can't control so many things, right? Right? Whether it's the economy tanks or whether your credit card interest rates double or something just at will and you can't maintain the payments. There are certain things we can't control, right? So the victor's mindset is this. It's that no matter what, I will get through. No matter what, I will not accept failure. And just thinking about certain things, whether it was, pondering the fact that Edison, right, he had like literally hundreds or like 1,000 failed prototypes before he got the light bulb, right? And it's thinking about all these things. How many times did Steve Jobs, not get it right before he got it right? And, for me, I have a background in technology sales, and I've had everything happen to me. I've had them double the reps in my territory. I've had my territory taken away. I've had my prices change. I've had weird, wonky, procedural things that hinder my sales. And my thought process was, okay, I have to make money. I have to provide for, at the time, my wife and my son. And so that victor's mindset, it spurs something in me to do the things that other people didn't want to do. And so what that looked like for me in sales in my career was, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to watch YouTube videos on how to be a better professional, how to present better, how to cold call better, how to be more disciplined with my time. I would read books on sales, read books on the industry, read books on the technology I sold to be an expert. And that helped me to have successes, to earn like the President's Club trip out of like 1,000 people in my company, to be the top 2%. So the victor's mindset in health and wellness is, you know what? It doesn't matter if I have bad genetics. It doesn't matter if I have don't have access to a nice gym. It doesn't matter if I'm on a low budget, you know, and I can't afford the best food and supplements, right? It's like, what can I control? I can control, we got 24 hours in a day, right? And we can do calisthenic body exercises, right? And we can, everyone can get enough protein, right? Just with chicken or something, right? Chicken's not expensive. So the victor's mindset is literally, I can get through anything. I will not accept being down on the mat, right? Like we talked about earlier, you're going to get knocked down in this life, in the boxing ring, right? Or the MMA ring. It's like, if I don't plan ahead of time, if I'm going to stay down on the mat or not when life gets hard and life gets difficult and the impossibilities weigh me down, or am I going to decide ahead of time that, yeah, life is going to suck, but there's going to be certain points where am I going to get up or not, right? Am I going to keep going back? Am I going to keep getting up and not accept? And for me, being a dad is so paramount to that, because if I wasn't a dad, honestly, I wouldn't be the person I am today, right? Because I see him and I see his life and I see what I want his life to be. And it's like, he is not, absolutely not going to have the vision unless I, as his father, present that, I preach that, I speak that, I live it out. And so something big with that for me is acknowledging my faults with him, right? If I make a mistake, I want to demonstrate to him, hey, that a man is okay to make a mistake, but we get up, we own it, we apologize, and we make it better. Yeah. And whether it's crying, right? A lot of guys are taught not to cry, but it's like, crying is a natural thing, right? That's how you relieve stress. Like if you're broken, you know, your kids need to see you weep if you're broken, right? Because it's a healthy emotion. So the victor's mindset is just so huge. It literally does not matter what happens to you. If you have the mentality, you have the mindset, I mean, there's no limit, right? You hear about the people going bankrupt and they come back to be a multimillionaire, right? Or the people that had cancer, or like, you know, Usain Bolt, right? He had the victor's mindset, like before one of the Olympics, like less than like 8 months before, he had some god awful injury, like tore an ACL or something, and came back to win the world record, right? He had that victor's mindset that I will work harder, I will work longer, I will work stronger, and it all starts with the brain not wanting us to quit.
I love that. And on some level, the victor's mindset really reminds me of it's much better packaged. I like this verbiage way better. Victim versus victor. That's powerful. But in psychology, we learn the subject versus the agent. The subject, life happens to me. And when you think that way, it does a certain amount of things to your neurochemistry. And then the agent mindset is I make life happen. And when you think about things in that way, because it's literally a switch. There's like a switch you can flip that does that. You can either look at the day and go, it's raining outside and I don't have enough money in my bank account and, you know, my friends hate me or whatever. And all of these things, you know, is life happening to you? Or you wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to earn some money since I don't have any money. It's raining outside, so I guess I'm going to do something productive inside. And my friends hate me, which means I'm the common denominator in all this. I'm going to explore myself and see how I can do better. That's the agent, right?
Gotcha.
So when you say that, I love, first of all, the fact that your fitness journey has been obstacle course races, because in an obstacle course race, you face a certain direction and you go that way and you don't get to turn around.
That's for sure.
you're gonna go this way, and there's just gonna be stuff that pops up and you gotta go, okay, well, that's what we're doing next. Like, here we go. And you deal with that. And that's, I mean, if life couldn't be boiled down to 10 miles any better than that, like that's exactly life. Like you're born and you face that direction and there's no turning back, and just stuff happens, and well, you gotta roll with it. Do you not? Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to say on that note, and then I'll let you have something. This is your story anyway, but you're just jazzing me up, dude. You just get me so excited about this. But also, you know, when we talk about the victor versus the victim, and it's hard to, you know, really nail down for people, telling them what happens in their minds. But I encourage anybody listening to this or anybody watching this to know the difference between the victor and the victim. Sit on the edge of your bed for 2 minutes and think, what's going on in my life that I need to change, that I'm willing to change, and watch how fast that list forms. Because when that happens, then you are in the position to either be the victim or the victor. When you see that list, and it'll form for you like that. Doesn't matter what you know about protein, doesn't matter what you know about exercise. As soon as you ask yourself that question, what incredibly stupid things am I doing to ruin my life right now that I should probably stop, that I'm willing to stop? And man, there it is, victor or victim. So anyway, that's my spiel.
I love it, man. That's really good, Alex. And those two, that brings up a couple of things in my mind. One is negative self-talk and positive self-talk. And the other one is journaling, right? You talked about sitting on the edge of your bed and kind of having that self-check, right? As far as, okay. So for me, over the years, the pen and paper has been a phenomenal way to detangle the soul, man. And just men in general, we're not taught to talk about stuff, right? I learned over the years that, like if you ask a guy, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? What's going on with you? We're real good at giving the facts, right? Oh, this happened and she said this or he said that and then I did this. Like, you didn't say one feeling. You didn't talk about, I'm feeling distraught, or I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling, whatever. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling sorrow. I'm feeling unmet expectation, right? So for me, journaling is a huge way to clarify, right? If we sit on the edge of our bed, but our mind and our inner man is all toiled up and tangled, a mess, and there's just, we're just hearing just static from trying to tune into two different many of life's radio stations at the same time. We got to quiet the noise, right? So for me, journaling has been a great aspect of just sometimes like a mind dump. It's like, okay, I don't feel good, or I need to run this errand tomorrow, or I miss this person in my life, or I want to put this on my bucket list. And just your journaling doesn't need to make any sense. You just need to get it out from inside. And that way, I think we're freed up. Me personally, I'm freed up. And the guys that I mentor and kind of disciple and stuff, it's helped them just to like get a fresh mindset, to just detoxify the thoughts, the mind, the noise, and just figure out, okay, who am I? What do I want? What's important today? And that kind of plays into the positive self-talk and the negative self-talk. And I do a ton of self-talk in races. I do a ton of self-talk when I'm running and training, and especially competing. I don't worry about what people think about me, right? But one thing I say is when I'm running and my body wants to quit, as I say out loud, I verbalize, I say all day long. I tell myself I can do this all day long. And whatever the case is for you, right? You guys will have your own keywords, but me being a Christian, the Bible says that God spoke and things came into existence. And so we, as his followers, we have that same power to speak truth and to speak life over situations. And so I think the spoken word is important. I follow psychology and was in the field for a short time myself. So using the way we talk even out loud is important, right? Saying you statements, right? Like if we say I statements, that's okay. But like, you can do this, or referring to ourselves in the third person, like, come on, Ben, you got this. It plays a huge role. It's helped me get through a ton of things. And then watching the negative self-talk, right? It's so easy to say like, man, like I'm a screw up, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm never going to get, my dreams are not going to come true. And it just, if we're not careful, it will take the day. It's like having the bad things that happen to us and the good things, and man, the negativity, pound for pound, it is way more dense. It's like lead. You have to be really intentional. I have to be intentional about focusing on the positive to outweigh the negative.
Well, negative self-talk is so easy because most of
second nature.
Exactly. Most of our physiological receptors are to tell us when we're in pain or in danger. So all of that subconscious lingo is keyed into whether or not you're in pain or in danger. And let's face it, life's hard sometimes, most of the time. And so there's plenty of reasons why you're in pain and plenty of reasons why you're in danger. And so to take a different approach, to take a conscious approach, to say, all right, I'm in pain and in danger, whatever, but I'm going to speak more loudly to the part of me that sees beyond that. I'm going to speak more loudly with the part of me that's like, all right, I'm in pain and in danger all day long, whatever.
Yeah.
that you don't do that on accident. Like that has to be that has to be something conscious. It has to be something powerful. And I love that you have your mantra in there for your race, because something about the physical exertion of a race brings that out of us. Like, what's that 3 words, 4 words, 5 words that you can just hang on to no matter what comes your way, and that keeps you moving? I love all day long. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, because it's like whether you're it's telling yourself that, you know what, bring it on. Like, I can do this all day long. I can deal with this season of drama all day long. I can deal with a difficult season of career, but as long as it takes. I can deal with, the grind until I'm debt free, how long as it takes, all day long, whatever the case is, right? Like, it's played a powerful aspect for me. And for me in my life, whether it's athletics or career, whatever, or in my faith, I try to diversify as much as possible, right? I can't really rely on 1 or 2 things to get me to my end game. I try to rely on as many tools and things in my back pocket and in my life tool bag as possible. And so there's the positive self-talk, there's the journaling, there's the trying to really focus on getting quality sleep. There's the aspect of even just how I breathe, how I, the mechanics of lifting weights, right? The order that I do exercises in as far as obstacle course racing. What days of the week do I run? What days of the week do I do, strength work or endurance work or stretching? It's just, you try to have so many things going, just to if you have a couple of failures, you're not able to do a couple of things, and it works, right? Same thing with a balanced diet, right? You can't just focus on certain things all the time. You got to give yourself affording a cheat day, or you got to give yourself affording, a little bit different menu, just to make it work.
Yeah, I love that. And I wanted to ask, we're coming up on our time here, so I wanted to ask, you got to stand on the podium at your most recent Spartan race.
Oh man, it was life-changing. I'm still floating a month later on.
Can you tell me how that felt? Like, because there's so many of those. There's just so much that happened to get you there, and so many things that you overcame to get you there. And I'm sure there's a vision associated with it too. So what was that like, man? You were standing there. I'm sure you had goosebumps. I'm sure you had a little sports tear here or there.
Oh man.
What was that about?
Yeah, so it was very unexpected. I got a top 10 finish earlier in the season, and that got me a spot to the North American Championships in Vermont. I wasn't able to attend because I qualified like the week of. But for me, it seemed like a pipe dream for next year. And I figured, okay, I'll take 3 to 6 months in the off season, just hit it as hard as I can. I'll come back, and Lord willing, I'll get on that podium in 2019. And then, man, I did. So if you're not familiar, there's a thing called a trifecta with Spartan, where you, in one January to December season, you do a sprint, you do a super, and you do a beast. And a lot of people, they'll try to do one race a year because they're really strenuous and like an Ironman almost sometimes. So I got 2 trifectas in after I started my season. My season was going to be 1 Spartan race and 1 Tough Mudder. That was my whole goal for the season. And then, So fast forwarding, I got 1 trifecta. I said, I'm gonna get a 2nd trifecta. And so I was done. And then this race was coming up in San Francisco, and I live like over 1,000 miles away from there, up near Washington, Idaho, near the Canada border. And it's just like, you know what, there's travel, this and that. So it really wasn't on my radar. It worked out kind of last minute. I got down there, and I wanted to race on a Saturday, and it was sold out. And so thankfully they still had some open spots in the age group racing class on Sunday morning. They added a 2nd heat. So I'm there, and I'm kind of out of my element because I was supposed to have my season be over, and I hadn't been training a whole bunch in the weeks before, just my same training regimen. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to give it all I got, and if I don't get top 10, because it's a California race with a lot more participants and more competition, I just want to, say I did a stadium race. And I'm kind of a weirdo. Like, I love running stairs. I love running up steep hills. It's always just been a fun thing for me, being a track and field guy, doing high jump, triple jump, long jump. So fast forward, I put all these little tiny things in my life that I had focused on. How I breathe, how I swing my arms, how I take strides up hills, how I run downstairs, right? Like how I attack this obstacle, what I do on the ropes. I put it all together, and it came together really, really well. I wasn't keeping track of where I was at in the race. I got done, and just try to leave nothing on the course. And I checked my results, and I was in the top 3, but there were other heats. And so I kept it to myself. I didn't tell anybody. And then after about 30, 40 minutes, I thought all the heats were done. I started sharing the good news with people. I was in disbelief. And then all of a sudden I checked it again, and I was in 4th place. And I was like, no, how could this happen? This is crazy. And so I waited another hour or so, and the word ceremony is coming up, and I was in 4th place. And so they're reviewing all the footage like they do to look for people cheating or not doing the full requirements. And literally I checked it like 2 minutes before the podium ceremony. I was still in 4th place, and it was this battle, right, of the victor's mindset, right? Do I get down on myself, or do I be excited that this is the best I'd ever done was 9th place, and now I did twice as good at 4th place. And so I really had to focus on just be humble, be appreciative, like just thank God for what I did today. And then I go down to the podium ceremony. I had a friend named Nono. He races, does very well. He was on the podium. I get down there. I'm like, man, I lost my spot. And I was kind of defeated for a second. He's like, I think you're 3rd place. I'm like, well, I just checked. I'm not. Anyways, so I go down, the ceremony's about to start. I asked the official, and he turns his laptop around and shows me my name at 3rd place. And I couldn't believe it, Alex. It was so crazy. And a lot of times these festivals, they're out in the woods and stuff, and there's some people around, but to have like a stadium with, 4,000 racers that day and just thousands of spectators, and they're announcing this, and just echoes through like the arena, and to have him call out my name, and then to be able to run up there, it's so hard to describe the feeling. It's so unexpected and so powerful just to see where I was a little over a year ago, not even able to like hang on a monkey bar, and, like just giving myself a goal of, hey, I'm going to try to get 1 mile and not have to walk even a few steps, even if it takes me 20 minutes, to now being able to just to see this old 41, almost 42-year-old body, right, which I didn't take good care of for a decade, performing well, seeing the investment, day by day made with nutrition and the sleep and the exercise, and just so much encouragement from other racers in the Spartan community. It literally, I feel like I won the lotto, man. Whether I ever hit the podium again or not, it's been so life-changing and so filling. I'm just riding the wave. It's just so humbling and beautiful to see that literally any guy can do it, whether you need to lose 50 pounds, 80 pounds to get there, whether you need to put on 20, 30 pounds of healthy muscle like I had to do to get there. It's just seeing the victor's mindset it's so sweet to be able to put in the time and till the soil. And a lot of times, the vineyard that we're planting and harvesting, we don't see the fruit from that for many seasons sometimes. And man, to finally see and taste that fruit of just the vineyard coming to fruition it's hard to describe. So
all I can say is I can't wait to see who you are at 50, to be honest.
Oh, man.
Because if you can make incremental progress like that over a year, I mean, fast forward 10 years, like that's powerful, and I don't know if that means standing higher up on the podium or if that means other things in your world, but Benjamin, I'm rooting for you, dude. I like this victor's mindset you got going on, and I want to hear if there's a guy listening to this or a girl listening to this and they're thinking, I've never done this obstacle course race thing. That's crazy. Like that's for weirdos and tutus or crazy in shape guys like this cat. What would you say to them in the spirit of giving it a shot?
So here's what's awesome about Spartan. Joe DeSena's goal, who created Spartan, his goal was to get millions of people like off the couch. And so what's great is that it doesn't matter your fitness level. It doesn't matter who you are. Sign up. That's people say, I'm not in shape. For me, it was signing up and committing. Okay. Whether it costs you $75 or $200, whatever, deal or whatever size race you want to do, number one, sign up. Okay. Then believe me, then the motivation to get out there and run a mile or two here and there a few times a week, it will come. And then the motivation to not, eat that, bowl of ice cream before you go to bed, that will go away, right? And whether you want to get McDonald's or whether you want to go and get, something healthier, you know, that will come, that motivation will come. And what's great is that when you're in the open class, there's a lot more team stuff involved, right? The camaraderie is amazing. And even if you're like, look, I don't have a ton of friends or a ton of people that will do this with me, the most beautiful thing about the Spartan series franchise versus other franchises is that it is so supportive. Like, I've gone on races by myself, not knowing anybody, and I'll meet so many new friends on the race course. And it's a Spartan culture thing that if you're struggling on an obstacle, that people will help you, they'll encourage you. If you need, you know, nutrition or something on the race, or you need, like, you know, a sip of water, people will just bend over backwards to help you. And it is not, I want to repeat, Spartan is not for the elite athlete. It's for all size fits all. So whether you don't exercise very much or you don't think you can do it, get out there and do it, and it will change your life. And hopefully after some burpees with missed obstacles, you will hate burpees and have the same fire that I did to never have to do a burpee again. So I encourage every single person, whether you're in your 70s or whether you're in your teens, to sign up for a Spartan. It will change your life.
Dude, I love that. You've inspired me. I've done so many obstacle course training pieces for American Ninja Warrior, but I've never done a Spartan. And so hearing your story, I'm like, hey man, let's do it. I'll bring my clients. Have a grand old time.
Yeah, you would dominate.
I'd have a good time at least. Benjamin, I would love for you to have the last word here and then wrap it up. What would you like to leave us with, brother, if we don't hear anything else from you today?
Yeah, I would say life is simple, right? Forgive other people before they ask for forgiveness, right? If we walk through life with hurt or resentment, we need to let that go, right? Life is short. We're not promised tomorrow, and we're put on this earth to be a light and to bring other people's lives better than they are. Whether that's looking somebody in the eye at the check stand, whether that's smiling at the person, you know, when you're out in your day and just, you know, saying hi to them, whether that's normal where you live or not, to be nice, or just, you know, you have control every day to leave a legacy, right? Give your family members hugs every day. Be loving, be forgiving, and just look for the good. And just when the bad comes, process it out, journal, get rid of it, and move forward.
Love that, man. Guys, this has been Alex Van Hout with Defining Dad Bod, joined by Mr. Benjamin McGuire, sharing his story of transformation to get to the podium on the Spartan race and beyond. I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes you, brother.
Thanks. Take care.